There are obviously certain games that don't just launch a franchise. They do, in fact, create genre. And we think that's what the original Devil May Cry did back in 2001. Before Dante started juggling demons with pistols, launching enemies into air with giant swords, and turning every fight into a stylish performance, action games looked very different. Then Devil May Cry arrived and changed almost everything. Nearly every major character action game that followed owes something to that original adventure. And in fact now, after years of rumors and growing speculation, a lot of us are beginning to believe Capcom may finally be preparing to rebuild that classic from the ground up. Nothing's in fact been officially announced yet, and that part is important because the remake is sort of still a remake, although it is said to be officially in development. Multiple reports and industry discussions over the past year have actually pointed toward a possible Devil May Cry 1 remake being in development, while Capcom itself has openly stated that it wants to continue expanding major franchises like Devil May Cry through remakes, sequels, and new projects. And if it happens, this could become the most ambitious Devil May Cry project ever attempted. The reason being, the original game already had incredible ideas, but it was limited by the technology of its time. The gothic castle setting, the eerie atmosphere, the demonic creatures, the mystery between Dante and Virgil, all of it was memorable, but modern hardware could finally realize that vision at a completely different angle and scale. We're not gonna go very deep, but just picture Dante charging through a castle filled with demons while switching weapons seamlessly, launching enemies skyward, firing ebony and ivory in slow motion and chaining together combos that simply weren't even possible back then in Unreal Engine 5? That basically sounds incredible, and honestly, the timing feels perfect. Growing fans' demand and the success of the Devil May Cry 5, the timing suddenly feels right for Dante's original story to return in a much bigger way. And honestly, the first game really deserves it more than most people even realize, because beneath all of the action and the one-liners, the original Devil May Cry carried a completely different atmosphere from the later entries. It was darker, stranger, more isolated. The castle itself almost felt alive. Giant hallways covered in shadows, ancient rooms filled with eerie silence before every monster suddenly exploded out of nowhere. There was horror in the DNA of that first game, even when the combat became stylish. That's right, the atmosphere is exactly why fans want a remake so badly right now. Not just sharper objects or graphics, a full reimagining of Mullet Island with modern technology and modern cinematic presentation. And Unreal Engine 5, of course, or Capcom's re-engine, could make that place look unbelievable now. Like a remake could finally unleash all of that. Not just the gameplay, not the graphics, the music, everything. Honestly, this is where Devil May Cry 1 becomes fascinating compared to later games in the series. Because unlike, say, DMC3 or Devil May Cry 5, the first game still feels mysterious. Dante himself wasn't fully understood yet. The world felt smaller but stranger. There were long, quiet moments where players simply explored empty halls, not knowing what was waiting next. That slower pacing created tension that later entries mostly replaced with just non-stop spectacle. A remake could preserve that balance beautifully. Stylish combat mixed with gothic horror atmosphere. That combination is still incredibly rare even today. And according to ongoing rumors online, Capcom reportedly remains very interested in expanding and revisiting all the Devil May Cry projects after seeing how much excitement still surrounds the franchise. That's important because the demand genuinely exists. Fans have been asking for this remake for years. Not because the original became irrelevant, but because it still feels like unfinished potential waiting to be modernized, especially the story. See, the original game had strong ideas but limited storytelling tools compared to modern standards. Dante's relationship to his family, the emotional weight surrounding Virgil and Sparta, and the loneliness of the world itself could all become much deeper with today's cinematic technology. Like imagine modern facial animations during Dante's quieter moments. Moments where the confidence drops slightly and players see more clearly how much grief and isolation sits underneath this sarcasm. That emotional layer could elevate the remake massively, because the older Dante becomes more interesting when players realize that humor is partially a shield. Now, of course, combat is obviously the heart of everything, and honestly, Capcom already solved most of that problem with Devil May Cry 5. That responsiveness and style systems in that game are some of the best action mechanics ever made.
Devil May Cry 1 Remake is widely regarded as one of the most anticipated action games in development. As a modern reimagining of the classic Devil May Cry that helped define stylish hack-and-slash combat, the remake is expected to bring cutting-edge visuals, refined combat systems, and expanded storytelling. Fans hope to see Dante's original journey against demonic forces reimagined with Unreal Engine-level graphics and cinematic presentation. The project represents a revival of a legendary franchise, blending nostalgia with modern gameplay design. If executed, it could redefine action gaming standards and reintroduce a new generation to the series' iconic atmosphere and fast-paced combat.
And a remake could simply build on that foundation while adapting it to the darker tone of the original game. Dante should feel fast but dangerous. Every sword swing should carry impact. Gunplay should feel stylish without overpowering melee combat, and enemy encounters of course should feel constantly encourage creativity instead of just button mashing. That's a solid Devil May Cry. Expression, not just winning fights, but mastering them. A remake could also massively improve boss encounters. See, the original bosses were iconic conceptually, but modern hardware could turn them into enormous cinematic battles. Phantom could become terrifying. Nello Angelo could feel emotionally devastating. On and on and on, because modern audiences know Virgil now. They understand his importance to the series when we're talking about Nello Angelo. Replaying that storyline with modern storytelling tools would completely change how those encounters feel. What once seemed mysterious could now feel tragic. Dante, unknowingly fighting his own brother inside a cursed suit of armor, could carry enormous emotional weight if it handled correctly. That's the kind of thing Capcom has become very good at recently, recontextualizing old material for modern audiences without rewriting its identity. And visually, the gothic horror side of the remake could become incredible. That's right, the original game borrowed heavily from horror design despite being an action title. A remake could lean back into that atmosphere all the way, like fully. Not turning the game into survival horror, of course, but making the environments genuinely unsettling again. Like imagine hearing distant monster noises when exploring. Imagine enemy ambushes built around tension and silence instead of just non-stop action. And honestly, modern game is missing more gothic action games right now. That's right, everything became either fantasy, sci-fi, or realism. Very few major games or titles fully embrace dark gothic style anymore. Now, another major reason people think this remake may happen eventually is simple, and that is that Capcom knows the franchise is valuable again. Especially Capcom lately. The company seems extremely aware of which franchise fans are demanding most aggressively, and honestly, Devil May Cry 1 is sitting there waiting perfectly for a remake because the foundation is already very strong. The atmosphere, the characters, the world design, the iconic enemy encounters, all of it already exists. It just needs modern rebuilding. That's why fans care so much about this possibility. Devil May Cry 5 continues to perform extremely well years after launch, and Capcom recently credited renewed interest in the franchise partly to the success of the Netflix's anime adaptation. The fan base is active, the franchise is popular, Capcom loves remakes as well. When you pull all those pieces together, it's easy to understand why so many people think Dante's first adventure could be next. And if that day comes anytime, players may finally get the chance to walk through those castle doors again and experience a game that started it all, only this time it's going to be much bigger, darker, faster, and of course more stylish than ever before.